This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Hey, welcome back, everyone. Our population is aging. It's a fact. More than ever, there are more older Americans than ever, and that number is growing. But unfortunately, for a lot of older folks, they're living with pain. Probably the last decade of their lives, they're dealing with pain that they might not need to deal with. And massage therapy and other modalities related to it can make life a lot easier and a lot more joyful. We're going to talk with a licensed massage therapist at Innovaetas, and she's got a lot of insight on this. Great to have her back with us. Kathryne McCracken is on the program. How are you doing today?
I'm terrific. Thank you so much. Welcome to my little studio. I'm down here in Bluffton, South Carolina, about 10 minutes from the Hilton Head Bridges. You can see the Palmetto Moon, South Carolina, and then the starry sky as you lay on the table. So nice and relaxing.
Mm.
But yeah, I am actually in my last class in the Innovative Aging program at the University of Florida School of Medicine, and very dedicated to figuring out, that's the whole crux of the program, is why do we spend the last 9 to 12 years of our life ill and in pain? Which is very interesting because we've extended our lifespan in the last 100 years from an average of 47 to 77, and in many cases, much older than that. But we don't seem to be able to understand where this pain is coming from and why our health span doesn't equal our lifespan anymore. And so I've been looking at, and in my research and in my many, many years as a massage therapist, myofascial therapist, lymphedema therapist, into why does the body fail? What is the cause of aging and how can we prevent that? Because there's just a lot of things that my clients experience that there just isn't a pill for that. And most of the time when they come to me, it's kind of as a last resort. And they're just frustrated and sad because they've retired down here to the beautiful low country and they want to play golf, tennis, pickleball, and just enjoy life and get their rewards after all their years of work.
Mm. Maybe it's rhetorical, but gotta go there. Why do why do people with the last 10 years of their lives experience pain? What's actually going on in their bodies?
Well, this is something that I love to tell my students and clients. A couple of things is, remember, your body is with you your whole life. And so those childhood illnesses, they will compound over time. And I mean, I remember I had
Mm.
years and years ago, right after I took my first myofascial therapy training in 2013, there was a woman who came in. She was diagnosed with adult onset scoliosis and was just in a lot of pain. She said she'd been suffering for about 30 years. She was 80 plus. And I had her on the table and I was doing the myofascial release techniques that I had learned, and her body shook. I watched her spine straighten underneath my hands. And when she came out of the room, she says, "My God, I completely forgot I was 4 years old when I fell through the ice." And so the way she fell, she hit apparently her hip or something, and it just created a trauma. And that over years had snowballed and caused her spine to curve. And once that knot released, her spine was able to straighten.
Wow. Mind blow.
Yeah,
Like
mine was
seriously.
too. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
And that brings me to and certainly like as kids, I mean, listen, I've hit my head so many times. Not even just as a kid. I was in my 20s. I hit my head like three times. Um, that explains a lot. But the fact that we've had all those injuries as kids, now, would you also say that some of the mental traumas that we've gone through as kids
Mm.
also we're holding on to
Mhm.
decades later?
hmm Remember, I mentioned plasticity. There's also neuroplasticity,
Sure.
and that's where the brain actually kind of ramps up its protective mechanism. So, like, I had another client, a young mother. She would come every other week at the 9 o'clock session when I was at Massage Envy. She'd put the kids to bed, say, "Bye, hubs, I'm going to get my massage." And she came in one day and she was so stiff and in so much pain. She'd been rear-ended all the way through an intersection. And when she came in, the whiplash was so intense she couldn't move. I worked on her gently, very gently. Her body shook. She got up off the table. She could turn her head. She was in no more pain. And then the 2 weeks later, she came back in and she said, "It's the craziest thing. I'm not in any pain, but whenever I lean my head back in the shower to wash my hair, my neck gets stuck." And I said, "Think about it. A couple weeks ago, your head was thrown back so fast and thrown forward so hard that when it goes back that far, your brain says, protect before you lift it up."
Yep.
And so that's the neuroplasticity. Interestingly enough, once that came into her conscious mind, never had a problem with it again. But yeah, and the other thing, part of the reason that we don't suffer the injuries when we're children is because when we're infants, we're about 70% water. And then as we age, that gets lower and lower and lower. And really, once we reach about 55, 65, we're only about 50% water. So we're very dehydrated. So we get very sticky.
Mind blown again. My gosh. I mean, at any age, I bet if we were to analyze the general population, big majority of us are technically dehydrated. I
Yeah.
had no idea when you get older, we start drying up.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and you think about it, there's a whole lot more of us when we're 55, 65 than we were when we were, a month. So
Jeez.
percentage wise, that's even more significant.
Why do you think that is where older folks are more dehydrated, even though maybe they're intentional about drinking, what they think is enough?
Oh, there's two very big reasons. One of the primary functions of our skeletal muscles is to move fluids through the body. And so if we're sedentary, then those fluids aren't getting moved into the cells. Also, the other thing is everywhere that you have that trauma, that knot, then what happens is the proteins come together, and a healthy relationship is protein and water, and that's why the lymphatic system works. But whenever the proteins start bonding together, then instead of a healthy relationship, it turns kind of into a, love the one you're with kind of unhealthy relationship. And then the proteins get so intense that the water can't get to them anymore. And so the knots are areas of dehydration.
So, would you say that even if somebody who, let's say, is, I don't know, 80, and they could be drinking a fair amount of water,
Yeah.
but regardless, it's not getting into their body
Right.
where it needs to?
hmm
Wow.
Anybody of any age, if you could drink a gallon of water a day, but if you weren't moving, then it's just basically staying in your digestive tract and you're just peeing it straight out.
Hmm. What do you
Yeah.
do? Are we back to massage now?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, get up, move, yoga, Pilates, stretch. There's a reason they say cats are liquid. If you've ever seen a cat stretch, they get into the funniest positions, and cats and dogs never just get up and go. And if you watch kids, if you watch babies, infants, toddlers, they are so adorable the way that they wiggle and stretch. And what they're doing is they're kind of getting their fascia going. They're rehydrating their bodies and they're doing that instinctively. Personally, I blame alarm clocks for the reason that we dehydrate because we don't just, wake with the roosters anymore and stretch. We hit the alarm clock and we go, I gotta get the coffee.
Yep. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
and go for the caffeine, go for the coffee. Okay, but isn't that also helping to dehydrate us?
A little bit. If in excess, it can be a diuretic. Yeah.
Hmm.
Mhm.
You had said something before, massage therapy, and I thought you said something manual.
Yeah, manual therapies. That's a more encompassing term. Manual therapies or body work. That includes neuromuscular, myofascial release, manual lymphatic drainage, because manual lymphatic drainage and myofascial release are not massage.
Got it. Okay.
Because massage literally means to knead, and the manual lymphatic drainage is a slow rhythmic movement, and myofascial release are more static movements that actually stretch the fascia to bring the fluids back into that to get the proteins moving around again to get the knots to melt.
but to the rest of us, it probably feels like massage or like kind of a massage.
Kind of. It's actually probably more relaxing than massage, which believe it or not.
Well,
Yeah.
my wake up, it was a year or two ago. I had a myofascial release massage and I think lymphatic drainage and such a light touch.
Yeah.
But the wake up for me was that was, you always used to get in there and knead and get,
Mm.
I kind of liked it lighter because after a while it was just like, yeah, this is good. This is
Yeah.
relaxing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
It's relaxing and it's more effective and the effects last significantly longer because our superficial soft tissue is kind of like a sponge. And so if you squeeze that sponge harder, you're squeezing more of the fluid out of it. As opposed to with the lymphatic and the myofascial release, you're stretching it so that the fluid can get into it.
So let's go back to the focus on older folks and
Mhm.
what can be done to support them through massage, manual, anything else.
Oh, well, constantly I see what happens with the spine and our spine kind of fails. It gets scrunched as we get older, and we live with what they call chronic idiopathic pain. And idiopathic of the Greek idios, meaning of no known origin, and pathos being, disease, something's wrong. And the way that our spine is most of the pain is chronic idiopathic pain, meaning of no known origin. Otherwise, we know acute pain is, you sprained your ankle, there's the pain, boom. But the pain and nerves don't fire up by themselves. There's always has to be a source. So what I do with the myofascial release in particular is to find the source. Because rule number one of body work is where it isn't because of the sensors that we have in our muscles and our tendons. So if a muscle's contracted, that muscle is fine, it's healthy. If its partner is overstretched, that's usually where we're feeling the pain. So what I want to do is I want to lengthen the shortened muscle so that the lengthened muscle can then relax to its natural length.
Experienced that myself 2 days ago. Finally got back to the gym.
Mm,
Now with a friend of mine, and so now I'm being intentional, have to show up and all of that, and doing some bench pressing. I've always had a like a little something in my call it rotator cuff, and just feeling about 5 hours later, I'm driving and I'm in the car, and I just take my hand and just start rubbing up, in the traps in that area. And then the arm starts feeling better. I'm like, oh, okay, it's not really
mm,
there. It's up in
mhm.
here right now. So yeah, to your point, and such a valid one that where you think it is, it's not.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. And I have so many clients who come in, my low back hurts. I want you to only work on my low back. And I'm like, well, I can do that, but it will not be effective and it will ultimately make it worse because those muscles are stretched. If I work that area, I'm stretching it more, giving the knots in the other muscles slack to make it tighter. So it feels better for about, a day or two afterwards, but then you're going to get worse and worse and worse over time if you don't treat the source. And that is something unique to manual therapy and traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurveda. The complementary and alternative medicines is that we treat the source and not the symptoms, which is the scientific medicine that I was talking about, care of Rockefeller last week.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Which by the way, I've shared with others. Those little facts that you really have. Like I had no idea that Rockefeller was, um, thankfully with his wealth, helped
Yeah.
pave the way for healing for the rest of us. You said the word not before, and all you gotta do is say that word and connect it to a part of the body. We know what it is, especially in the back and the upper back and shoulder blades and things like that. Is that a lack of hydration in that spot?
Yeah, it really is. It is an area of dehydration where like we talked about before, there's a chemical reaction going on all the time in all different parts of our bodies, and that includes the proteins. They link together through the covalent bonds. And so as they get tighter and tighter and tighter, the water can't get in there.
Hmm. Um, what do you do if it's how do you alleviate discomfort when it's a knot? It's not like you're opening up the body and pouring water into the knot.
Uh, no, the technique is either sustained holds where you just figure out which way the knot is pulling, and then you kind of go apart like that to just activate some more chemical reaction. It's called a piezoelectric effect, where there's the electricity. We talked about the different types of throughout history, how they thought about the body worked, chemicals, electricity, and all of the above. And so we activate that, and that helps to warm the tissues and soften them so again they can break apart. A lot of times, I don't know if you've ever experienced this in a myofascial technique, but the myofascial release, a lot of us very frequently, and it is an odd experience, the therapist will start shaking. And I have to reassure my clients, I only had 1 cup of coffee today, I promise. Because what happens is the vibrational frequencies, when a muscle is overstretched, if you've ever like lifted too much weight or carried something and you start shaking, it shakes and shakes and shakes and shakes and shakes until it gets so much that it just almost stops shaking. As it starts to release, it starts to shake more, and then it opens up and softens.
Is that similar to, let's say you are at the gym, you're doing an exercise. Let's go back to bench pressing, right? So you're
Yep.
you're working on your chest and some biceps and other related muscles. And as you're doing it, your muscles are shaking, because you're right at the point where it's like, I got a lot of weight on there. Is
Yeah,
that similar to what you're describing?
absolutely. Yeah.
Give me that again. I want to share that with my friend.
So the more that the muscle works, because I mean, if you get into the whole biochem thing, building the glucose and the ATP and the energies and everything like that. So as you work it, it starts to shake. And the shaking is really, you can really feel it. And then as it gets, the energy builds and builds and builds and builds, shakes less until it gets to freeze. And then as it starts to release, we call it thawing. And then it starts to shake, shake more, and then it just stops and that knot melts away.
Wow. On the point of the knot, if you go to a unqualified massage person, and you say, yeah, oh yeah, by the way, I got a knot right there, and they're just like pushing on it, kneading it, just but not using that technique where you're sort of smoothing it as I
Yeah.
saw your hands, or let's say you have that knot and you go in like a door jam, and you're just like right there in a sharp
Right.
point, and you're trying to like just get it. You're not really helping it, are you?
Well, you're helping it short term, but not long term. No, no. I had to giggle there. I had a quick memory of when I was working at a big spa, and you could see all the therapists lined up waiting for our clients to come out, and we were all in door jams going like,
Yes. Yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
we do it too. We do it too.
when somebody says, "Oh yeah, you got to break up that knot," heard that a
Right.
lot. Break up. Are you really doing that? Is that really what's
No,
going
I'll
on?
tell you
Oh,
what, we have since learned that fascia is as tough. I mean, it would be easier for me to go pick up a manhole cover and bend it with my bare hands than it would to be able to break up a knot. It has the tensile strength of approximately 2,000 pounds per square inch. That's tough stuff. You're not breaking
this
it.
is why you need to go to a trained, qualified professional for
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
Wow. And the
yeah.
knot is that's fascia.
Correct. Hmm.
See the stuff we learned here. I've always thought it was muscle connected. That's a muscle that tensed up that needs to, maybe picture your shoelace. You have a knot in your shoelace. That's the
Yep.
muscle. It's all tied up, and we got to untie it. So when we first started talking about this, and you said it's dehydrated. Oh, all right. We got to move it around so you get more liquid in there, and then the knot completely incorrect.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
That door
Yeah, you're
jam's
not
not.
going to untie the knot by, sticking your elbow into it and grinding into it.
Well, that's
And
my
think
point. That
about it.
when you go to, the cheapy massage place, if you will, or somebody or a friend, hey, get in there with your elbow. You're
Right.
really not doing anything. Like you said, maybe some temporary relief, but
Right.
probably making it worse later on.
Yeah. Yeah. Because think about it, areas of pain, they're flared up. That's something your body is trying to get your attention there. Something is wrong. And if you go in and attack it, it's not happy.
I almost wish I didn't hear any of this because now it just complicates it more. That when you
Yeah.
have these things going on, that you do need to go somewhere and take care of it the right way.
Yeah.
That's really what it
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Well, and things like foam rolling and the massage thumpers, I think they're great, but almost everybody uses them wrong because they use it where it hurts. And so I educate my clients, no, no, let me show you something. And I go and I like touch their other hip and they almost fly off the table. And I'm like, see, this is the tight spot. If you do this, you'll feel it release over on this side.
Well, therein lies the challenge because we don't know where the other side is.
Yeah,
How would you
yeah,
know?
I
It's
know,
not going to be
I
the
know.
opposite side. It's going to be, wow.
Right.
You are in South Carolina. I wish you
Uh-huh.
were here. I wish it was a million of you everywhere station so that we can go get some relief. Innovaetas.com. That's your website, right?
Correct.
Yep. And that's spelled Innovaetas.com.
Correct.
Kathryne, thank you for all the insight today. Super cool. Learned so much, busted up a whole bunch of massage myths today, and I really appreciate
Good.
it.
All right. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
We'll catch up soon.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.